This hour is brought to you by Jeremy Temple Law Office of Bloomington. Personal injury, criminal, business, whatever you need, Jeremy Temple Law Office will get you taken care of.
Well, we're coming to your city. Gonna play our guitars and sing you a country song. We'll all be flying higher than a jetliner. And if you want a little bang in your yin-yang, come along.
Well, how you doing? Welcome back to Indiana Sports Beat with Coy O'Leary, coming to you from the Golf Club Eagle Point Studios here on this Monday, May 4th. Welcome in. Jake Todd's along as always, and we're here. It's looking like a great day out there today, man. I see some golf in Todd Leary's future.
Yep, you're probably right about that. Something to celebrate Quattro de Mayo.
How about a weekend, man? Weather week. I know there's some storms come through last night, but that's okay. It's okay. It was an unbelievable weekend. Well, I mean, it rained here and there, but yeah, other than that, it was wonderful.
Yeah, no, I thought you meant like overnight. I slept like a baby last night, but yeah, yesterday, man, I was out. I thought I was going to have the whole course to myself yesterday, and then it just kept raining on me over and over again, so I gave up.
Yeah, rough day out there, but man, otherwise it was beautiful.
Beautiful Saturday, that's for sure.
I hope people got out, social distancing, of course, and but was able to get out and move about. As a lot of the restrictions are starting to get unleashed. There's too many people, I think that this is just a willy-nilly, free for all now, and I'm like, whoa, no, back up. Not quite, but
well, I'll tell you what, Saturday everybody threw caution to the wind because it was packed everywhere you went yesterday, at least down here in Bloomington.
Yeah, I mean, the weather's nice, and it's going to be hard to keep people out, and you can't. And I mean, it's still, let's just hopefully we can do the best we can. But a lot, the NCAA on Friday came out with their plan to return, which kind of cracks me up if you read through it. It basically details mainly talking about other people and other organizations having a plan. Their plan is all contingent on all these other people having a plan. And I'm not kidding. It's like if local agencies have a testing plan in place, if so-and-so has this, if so-and-so has that, I'm going, what the hell does the NCAA do? That's just like last year when or whenever it was, and they came out with this deal of and they involved USA Basketball without telling USA Basketball. It's like, yeah, I may want to involve these people first, but typical NCAA response.
Yeah, I mean, and truly, like, you almost just wish they'd have just kept quiet because unless you're going to outline, like the governor of Indiana on Friday came out and outlined a 5-stage plan and kind of gave dates and chronological order for how things should happen. And, unless you're truly going to get detailed and do all that, it's almost just better off to say, hey, we're still in a kind of wait and see mode, because that's truly what it is. I mean, we got another month before, we really know if things will happen on time in the fall.
Yeah. And let's see, Indiana football, David Holloman, they got a great recruit pickup at him last week. Really, really fast kid. Unfortunately, they lose one. Rodney McGraw from Elkhart, I think, flips his commitment from Indiana to Penn State. So they lose a good one there. But,
is that because did he just start being recruited by Penn State? Or?
I think so. I think it was one of those deals. I'm not completely up to date on that one, but I think that was the case. So, that's you win some, you lose some. The Last Dance back on last night, man. So many people right now are just waiting for Sunday nights. And I was so excited. I had to try to watch it twice, fell asleep both times, and I have to watch it again today. But it looked like it was going to be great.
Well, I mean, last night's episode, I mean, I think you'll hear a lot of people talk about the Kobe Bryant interview and quotes that were in that one yesterday. I mean, it was super sad to see him on there talking about his idol and everything. He tried to emulate Jordan, and just seeing him talk, like, it makes you think about their family. It makes you think about everything that's going on, that's happened with them. And gosh, I mean, it was sad. It was cool to see. I'm glad that they got that done, prior to his death. But man, what a sad thing to see him on there, talking about his idol was Michael Jordan and that stuff. I mean, it was sad, but it was good 2 episodes last night.
Yeah, and it just showed that bond and almost the passing of the torch kind of a thing, which was kind of cool, and the relationship that would follow after that. We saw, unfortunately, at Kobe's funeral, Michael Jordan spoke and brought him to tears and all of that. But also saw the complete opposite with him and Isaiah Thomas.
Yeah.
Wow, it freaking came out there's just no love lost there. But it's not just, and you mentioned when we were off the air, it's not just Michael's the problem.
Yeah, I mean, the part with Isaiah, Michael's the one who kind of, you can, however you look at it, either gets credit or takes the blame for Isaiah not being a part of the dream team and all that. But, you almost look at it from a timing perspective. And, sometimes timing works out great for you in life and sometimes it doesn't. And that was the real tail end of Isaiah's career. I know his quote in the episode last night was he fit all the criteria, but when you almost kind of look at it, what you and I talked about, I mean, the image of the Bad Boys, I mean, it wasn't to be, a big part of the overall NBA. They wanted to be there. They wanted to be on an island by themselves, and they played a different way than everybody else did. Even when the Celtics were physical, they weren't like disgustingly flagrant about some of the stuff they did. And when you put that image out there of this is who we want to be, you can't get mad when other people don't like you. Like Isaiah, I mean, he really can't complain about not being on that team because based on the way that their team played, and which he was a big part of, they didn't really care. They didn't want people to like him. And I don't, whether you think it should or shouldn't be, a popularity contest when it comes to a situation like that. I mean, I think Jordan made a great point in saying, hey, we had some really good team chemistry and camaraderie. And if you would have included Isaiah in on that, it would have changed it. And look, I'm an Isaiah fan. I'm an IU guy, so I love Isaiah. But I get the point of how he wouldn't have really fit in with that team.
Yeah, because I'm going to guess that, Rod Thorne, he had conversations with Larry Bird and these other guys. And I think he knew that there's a rift between him and Michael. So he went on his own and asked those guys. And I think he did this on his own.
Well, I think it was David Stern that was on there last night when he said he called Michael Jordan specifically and said, will you play on this team? And Michael Jordan's response was, who's playing?
Yes.
And David Stern said, neither one of them ever said Isaiah's name,
right.
Allegedly, but he said, if you're asking about who I think you're asking about, he's not playing. And so it flipped back to Jordan, and Jordan said, look, I never said Isaiah Thomas's name, but he didn't really have to. And you still coming out of that, I don't blame Jordan for that because it was a
done deal before it got to him.
It is. I mean, I look at it like the Ryder Cup team in golf. Like I compare a lot of things to golf and that. And in a Ryder Cup team, it doesn't necessarily mean like the two captains picks you get to have at the end. It doesn't necessarily mean you have to pick the best two players. Sometimes you pick the guy that's going to help in the locker room.
The best team.
Yeah, that's right. And so in this scenario, I don't think anyone other than Isaiah would argue with the fact that they had great team chemistry and camaraderie, and that made a big difference in how hard they played and everything that they did. And it's just Isaiah's fighting a losing battle when it comes to that deal.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, but you made the greatest, not necessarily analogy, but a minute ago, I don't know if you said it again, but off the air, you talked about when you cultivate that bad boy image, you got to go with that, man. You can't care what people think.
I mean, they won championships. Like they accomplished everything they wanted to do. And part of that was being, just tough. When you're in a game situation, like you're not trying to make any friends, and they didn't, obviously. And then when it comes to a situation like this, all of a sudden you can't think that everybody's just going to forget about that. I mean, I don't just want to say hard fouls. Like there was more than just hard fouls. There was flagrant career-ending possible, scenarios that took place in what Detroit did. And so I'm shocked that you would ever even bring it up if you're Isaiah. I would shock that he should have said, he could have made himself look a lot better by saying, hey, look, you know what? Our bad boy image was we weren't trying to be friends with everybody else. And I get it. That team was great. Let them be great by themselves. He just wasn't a part of it.
Yeah, because to be honest with you, Magic and Bird, they didn't like each other back then. They were freaking competitors on the court, and they valued it that as a competitor. Now that it's over, and it's the same with Michael and all those other guys. But now that it's over, they're friendly with each other. Because it was nothing but respect.
Right.
Unfortunately, I don't know that Isaiah has that from those guys.
Yeah, I agree. And it's a real similar circumstance to if you flip back and go to the '84 Olympics with Coach Knight as the coach, and you have Charles Barkley not being on that team. I mean, it's not a collection of the 12, players ranked 1 through 12 across the country. It's a collection of a team you can put together that's going to play the best. And Coach Knight thought they would be better without Charles Barkley. I don't necessarily know that I agree with that, but it doesn't really matter what I think. They put together an unbelievable team in '84, and I mean it's hard to argue with the results of that. And they did the same thing with the '92 Dream Team.
You're not lying. Alan Hughes hits us up from Bird's Eye. The kid that flipped to Penn State said it was a relationship with the coaches that left Indiana. Yeah, I do remember that. Great job, Alan. Thank you. Rodney McGraw. He had a great relationship with
what position did he play?
Hagan, defensive line. I think he's Inman. So Mark Hagan, who left and went to Texas, who played at IU. But he had a great relationship with him. And, of course, with Dr. Ray and Dave Ballou, the strength guys, who went to Alabama. So, yeah, it's understandable, so no big deal. Also a text in from Tim who says the lake was packed. Of course it was. Patoka Lake he's talking about. Winery was lined out the door, so he didn't get any wine.
Well, you should have planned ahead of time. He'll know next time.
That's right, man.
You know what? You only don't have enough wine once. If you don't have enough wine more than one time, then
it's your fault.
You didn't plan properly.
Well, actually, and if your plan is to get wine from the Patoka Lake wine store, yeah, I don't have no sympathy for you right there.
Isn't that just basically either grape juice or Mad Dog 2020?
I think that they pour some into a thing.
It's one of those too.
Yeah, that's exactly it.
I thought don't they make their own liquor down there?
A lot do. Most people from that area where I'm from down in Southern Indiana, big winemakers down there. Of course, there's some.
You want to know how friendly the people are here at Eagle Point Golf Course? I pulled up on a group of people playing through them on Saturday, and they offered me a swig of moonshine.
Did you take it?
No, heavens no.
You got to do it just for the experience, man.
First of all, we're not supposed to be within 6 feet of each other, let alone drinking out of some jar after somebody else. I don't even know.
Well, I tell you, if you're drinking out of a jar of moonshine, you ain't got any worries. Anything that's in there is dead. That's coronavirus killer right there, baby.
I social distance in a hurry from that group. I couldn't get away from them fast enough.
Holy cow, where were they from?
Oh, you know them.
Oh,
they're regulars. You know.
Oh, I'm trying to think then who, because I think that's bringing a.
One of them is from your home area.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. Yeah, I remember the first time I had a swig of moonshine. Boy, it sure gets your attention. Let's say that.
Well, yep. I live with a hillbilly, so we have had moonshine at any point in time we've ever wanted, and I tell you what, anything you can set on fire, I am not drinking.
I tell you. Yes, that Georgia connection serves well because I used to have a guy that when I was roping, and every time we'd go to a roping somewhere down in whether it was Tennessee, wherever we were going, this guy from Georgia, his deal. He'd always bring a couple cases. He's selling moonshine to people every time. It was funny. Boy, that stuff. Whew.
Plus, it's illegal. I would never partake in anything like that. So.
Yeah, that's the least of my worries. Drinking that stuff, probably concerned. Man.
Yeah, I'm with. Hey, you know what? It probably kills any virus that you've got. No matter what.
You see that the coronavirus is not prevalent in the areas where moonshine is. I can promise you.
Good point.
On side note, over the weekend, Matt Keogh, former pitcher of the Oakland A's, passes away. They did not list the cause of death. He was only 63. But man, I remember him. Of course, growing up, Matt Keogh pitched for the A's. Billy Bean commented on him, but he was also involved with
that was going to be my next question. Did he play for Billy Bean?
Well, yeah, Billy Bean's still there. I think he's still. Is he? Yeah, he's still there. But
I watched Moneyball. I watched Moneyball twice over the weekend. It's one of my favorite movies.
Love
it's one
movie.
of my favorite movies.
It is awesome. But he was also involved in the Real Housewives of Orange County, which I didn't know, of course, since I don't watch shows like that. But not weird, I guess, but because that means.
So when you say he was involved in, you mean was his wife?
Yes, I'm assuming he's involved with a woman that's on the show. whether it's a wife or a girlfriend or whatever. But wow, they didn't mention the cause of death, and so I'm assuming it's not COVID-19 since they didn't mention it.
Aren't they putting that down for everybody's cause of death right now?
Seems like it. Getting those jacked up. A little betting. People got to bet over the weekend. We'll talk about that Arkansas Derby twice.
I forgot to look. We talked about it on Friday. Did they do a running of the
two
Derby?
races. Oh, they ran it on TV.
Did they do an old Kentucky Derby?
Oh yeah, all day long. I think.
Did they? Yeah.
But a lot of people were betting on the Arkansas Derby.
Sweet.
But we got all that and more. Dustin DePerick is from the Athletics going to join us next. Stay tuned. We're with that and more coming back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios. Coyle O'Leary right after this. Hello, everybody. Jim Coyle from Indiana Sports Beat. When I'm not covering the Hoosiers, you can find me at Bubba's 33 in Clarksville, located on the northeast corner of I-65 at Veterans Parkway. Bubba's 33 has hand-tossed pizzas, bold burgers, and ice-cold beer from a select list of local craft brewers. An incredible food selection, all made fresh daily. Whether you're meeting the team for that post-win meal in the family dining area or meeting friends for happy hour to watch the game on one of Bubba's 50 TVs. Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
We all want a winning smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you will get at Reynolds Family Dentistry in Sellersburg. Reynolds Family Dentistry has been serving the dental needs of Hoosier families for over 30 years. Let Doctors Roger and Jay Reynolds take care of your family. Just off of I-65 at 809 South Indiana Avenue in Sellersburg. Call 812-246-3368. That's Reynolds Family Dentistry, 812-246-3368.
I'm Rain Shaddy, and I'm a Hoosier. As a toddler, you could always find me running around in a cream and crimson onesie and a red IU hat reminiscent of those worn during the world-famous William Tell timeout, shouting, "Go Hoosiers!" Like many other alum, I chose to make Bloomington my home. As a civic and alumni leader, I have become very knowledgeable about our community and would love to share my insights with you as your realtor. Find me on Facebook or call or text me, Ryan Shaddy, with FC Tucker Bloomington Realtors at 765-623-9093.
Now that warm weather has arrived, it's time to hit the links, and there's no better place than the Golf Club at Eagle Point in Bloomington. Voted best golf course by the readers of the Bloomington Herald-Times, the Golf Club at Eagle Point is under new ownership, has new fairways and bunkers, and it's open to the public. When the round's over, there's cold beer and a full menu at the Eagle Point Pub and Bistro. Call 812-824-1100 to make a tee time. That's 812-824-1100. The Golf Club at Eagle Point in Bloomington. This is Jim Coyle from Indiana Sports Beat with Coyle and Leary. Indiana Sports Beat is now a part of the Rivals Network. You can go to thehoosier.com to sign up. It's free. Catch the show there each day live or at your convenience. You can also like or follow us on Facebook, follow the show's rebroadcast anywhere you podcast. If we're not on a radio station where you live, we should be. Let your local station know they need to carry Indiana Sports Beat with Coyle and Leary, or simply go to thehoosier.com.
Some of the best sounds you'll ever hear are generic, safe, effective, even money-saving, just like FDA-approved generic drugs. Even if they don't come in the exact same color or shape as their brand name equivalents, they have the same key ingredients and go through a rigorous review process. Talk to your doctor or pharmacist today and visit fda.gov/generic drugs. Generics are safe, effective, and can save you money. You'll like the sound of that.
You're on the line with Jamal Meeks, former Indiana Hoosier, number 23, 1992. And I'm on the beat with Jim Coyle.
Today's guest is brought to you by Reynolds Family Dentistry of Sellersburg. You need $1 million smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you'll get with Reynolds Family Dentistry. Welcome back to Indiana Sports Beat with Coyle and Larry, coming to you from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios here on this Monday. Joined now by our good friend Dustin DePerick from The Athletic. Dustin, how are you, sir?
Doing good, man. Thanks for having me on.
Thanks for being with us. Todd's along as always as well.
Hey, Dustin. How are you, bud?
Hey, Todd. How are you?
Great.
Good.
Oh man, even though we're in this weird time, Dustin, we still got a lot of stuff going on, at least to talk about. Most recently, unfortunately for Indiana football, they had a commitment flip from IU to Penn State. Not a big shocker. I mean, it doesn't happen a lot, but that's one that they lost. But you win some, you lose some.
Yeah, you do. I mean, obviously, that's just sort of how it goes in football recruiting, especially. I mean, it's just because there's so many of them. There's so much more movement. There's just so many more moving parts. Basically, it's easier to convince guys over time. Hey, maybe this is a better situation for you. Depending on who else they got and stuff like that. I mean, and also when somebody big comes in late, you could say, all right, I didn't know I was going to have this opportunity. So it always is. I mean, football is just always a little bit more open. Where basketball, I mean, it's usually a big deal because you're only taking 2 or 3 guys anyway. Where football, it's just, it is always moving parts. And again, you always have to presume if you're Indiana that you have a chance of losing to an Indiana or to a Penn State or Michigan, Ohio State or something like that. If they decide to get in late, you just try to secure as many of those as you can and you keep recruiting them. That's the big thing in football is you recruit and re-recruit and make sure that you're always keeping in touch with those guys and making sure they know you want them. But you sometimes even when you do a good job of that, they change direction anyway.
Yeah, it's during this time, this weird time of COVID-19, where everything has gone to video and all that. Indiana's a team that you would think that would be kind of at a disadvantage to some of those teams. They've kind of held their own recruiting wise during this time. They haven't lost any more than I thought that they might.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think it's just comes back to, Tom Allen hustles. That's really the biggest thing that's got him where he is. With this program so far, and really what's gotten Indiana it just being in better shape than they had been for so many years. Just basically that there's been an understanding that, hey, if you are, you have to always recognize and understand that you are at a disadvantage, and you have to play that way. You have to know that if you slip, you're going to lose something. So he it seems like he's kept that in mind and realized, hey, this is one of those periods where you could lose some people. Basically, that there's a good chance that some other schools are going to have a chance to swoop in here, and you're going to have to hustle to keep them. And basically, you are at a disadvantage. You're not going to be able to do some of the things that would usually sort of strengthen the bonds. Can't bring them to camps. Those sorts of things that have visits around the spring game, stuff like that. Those kind of things are not possible, and the virtual tours that they're going to be able to bring guys on when it comes to bigger schools are going to be more impressive. I mean, it's just going to stand out more when you're showing the place around through an iPhone or a computer or something like that. So I mean, it just comes down to you have to continue to sell what got you there. Basically, have the LEO mentality, and just the underdog mentality, basically everything that Indiana is trying to use to kind of flip its disadvantage on its head. And you have to keep doing that. Now, and I think it does a really good job of knowing what those are and making that happen.
And you also just posted the Big Ten Conference announces today that it's extending the previously announced suspension of all organized activities through June 1st, which no shocker there. And there's not a lot that's going to be going on anyway. So that kind of just gives them a little more breathing room, I guess.
Yeah, no, I mean, it seems like a formality at this point. I mean, it's sort of odd that they even keep putting this out there. But it obviously makes sense. I mean, I guess they're just trying to be smart and say, okay, let's not cancel anything until we have to. But really the die was pretty much cast when they canceled all spring sports. Basically when College World Series was canceled and all those kinds of things. You obviously couldn't ever conceive of getting back the spring sports going. And now it's just a case of, okay, can you bring these guys, bring football players, bring basketball players, bring whoever back on campus to be able to do something, to be able to have some kind of organized workout. So every step that they take, I think they are taking their time before sort of canceling anything more and saying, okay, look, let's just wait and see this come through. But you have to presume that you're not going to see any real movement toward actual activities until you start to see some numbers go down. And nationwide, you haven't. Obviously, I think that certain states, certain parts of certain states are starting to see some improvement. Basically, places that weren't necessarily hit that hard in the first place. But it's hard to imagine right now, especially in a conference like the Big Ten, where you do still have at least one affected school in Rutgers, where in the New York, New Jersey area, and basically then other schools that are sort of close enough to it. You're not necessarily trying, and schools that have New York, New Jersey players. it just doesn't seem like the right time for a while to even start talking about the idea of, when are we bringing these guys back? Let's, really start to make plans for it. So it's doing a lot of that, I think.
And then I was talking with Todd a little bit ago. The NCAA also came out on Friday with their plan to return to sports, which cracks me up because their plan looks to be a plan involving everybody else having a plan, which sounds pretty much like the NCAA.
Right. Yeah, I mean, now let's be fair though. The issue is somebody else should have a plan. You don't. That we could delve into certain pieces of that, and that will get political and all that kind of deal. But there isn't necessarily a top-down thing saying, okay, we expect it to be here by this date, and here by that date, and here by this date, and then therefore this is what we're imagining. It's still sort of piecemeal statewide. Now, part of that's just because of the way the disease is spread in the first place. It is a totally different ballgame in some places than it is in others. I mean, there's in parts of this country you can't even imagine the idea of playing sports right now, and some people are looking around and saying, "What? There's literally nothing wrong here." So that makes it kind of awkward. But if you're the NCAA, I mean, that is what you do, is you're waiting to hear word. I mean, I remember. You look back to when everything was canceled. That was basically what the NCAA was doing, and what the conferences were doing is just talking to the localities where they were playing and saying, "Hey, what do you want us to do?" I mean, I was at the Big East tournament, and it's crazy to consider how hard that city, the city of New York, was going to get hit. But Val Ackerman kept saying, "Well, look, we've been in touch with New York City authorities, New York State authorities. We're sort of waiting for them to tell us what to do," and that's ultimately, the job. I mean, the NCAA doesn't have its own CDC. That's what I would do if I were the NCAA. Is like I wouldn't commit to anything that basically higher ups weren't telling me to do.
So when you look at, don't you think though, like the thing I took with the NCAA, and everyone should know, I don't give them any credit, any undue credit.
Sure, I mean that's fair for all kinds of reasons.
It is. They've earned it. They've earned that right and that title.
Sure.
But in this case, if they don't come out, like I know it's kind of silly to say, hey, we're suspending everything through June 1st. But if they don't do that, I think it's obviously pretty proven that there are a lot of schools that will try to bend the rules as much as possible. And there'll be a gray area. Like in the state of Indiana, they're kind of opening things back up, starting, some today, some a week from today, some a couple weeks from today. So I could also see schools saying, hey, we kind of, they're allowing us to have our gyms open and to have some entertainment stuff going on. So our campus is going to, gradually open up a little bit. In this case, when they say, hey, you can't do anything on campus through June 1st, I kind of understand where they're going with that. And I don't really blame them in that case. Because if I were Indiana University and they didn't come out and say that, I would think there's a gray area where we could possibly open up and start practicing again, or having kids on campus at least.
Yeah, no, I mean, I don't know if that time is now, but I mean, I think you're definitely going to see bigger discrepancies in a couple months. I mean, July, I think there's a really good chance that you're seeing some places that, like one, state regulations are allowing them open for business, and two, there's just not a lot of spread in that community anymore. And then they're going to see some areas that are still hit really hard and they can't. So yeah, like you said, I mean, some people are going to take advantage of the fact that they're not necessarily, that it's not as dangerous. And, basically, because I mean, this is really a tough thing, I think. I mean, you look at, professional sports. I mean, you have these other contingency plans that you can imagine. Like you can go, take everybody to, I don't know, Vegas or Arizona or Florida or whatever. Some of the ideas that have been bandied about is taking everybody in one place and putting them in a hotel and then playing a season. That's not an option in college sports. That's not a thing that you can really do. It's got to be, can you play on campus? Can you not? And it's going to be such a hit to not just, the athletic departments of the schools themselves if you take this revenue stream away. So there is a big time motivating factor for people to try to push the limits here. And, one, for the, basically sort of the competitive angle, I mean, because you're obviously losing so much development time with every week that passes is the time that these guys could be, getting better. I mean, they're keeping in shape, I'm sure, and running and, lifting with whatever they have at home. But they're not playing. I mean, like if you're a basketball player, like you literally can't even go to the park because they've taken the rims down. So unless you have a hoop at your house, that's literally the only chance you have of literally
right.
Of being able to shoot. I mean, I might be able to handle a basketball up and down the street, but that's about it. And football, I mean, I guess you can throw it back and forth with your brother, if you have one, your dad, but there's not a lot of options for development. But so teams are going to want that, but also just the financial piece of it. There's some schools that are really going to not be okay if you say, hey, look, I know you guys don't have any cases right now, but nationwide we can't do it this way because we still have too many. There's going to be a rebellion over that. That's going to be pretty nasty. So,
Right.
You are definitely, I think, going to see, especially, when numbers come down, some people trying to, like you said, skirt some rules and try to push some things. I mean, I would not be surprised if there is a major difference in some places regionally between, how many cases there are. If you will see people try to play an un-NCAA sanctioned season of college football. That would not surprise me at all if schools tried to break off and, like if the SEC didn't have, if this sort of went away from the South and the SEC decided, all right, let's play. I don't care if there's a college football championship this year. Let's play an SEC season.
You mean the SEC might secede from the NCAA?
I'm not going to go any further with that joke than I already have.
Switching gears, that one. Switching gears a little bit, Dustin, focusing more on basketball. What, if you followed, which I know you have, but people following the whole G League / whatever that
elite,
hyper elite AAU team they're forming out there in California. And the two coaches who I've read, at least, have really spoken out against it are the two people that it probably hurts the most, in Penny Hardaway and John Calipari.
Sure.
You follow. What do you think about that?
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm not surprised. That is a thing that you would expect. I think, like you said, I mean, guys like Penny and Calipari that are recruiting on that scale, and then you can make a whole bunch of insinuations after that. Are obviously going to be affected by it more. Obviously, Penny played this season without the best recruit he had because of eligibility issues and that sort of thing. So they're obviously going to step out for it more. I mean, I think it's going to make an impact going forward. It's just not going to make as big of an impact. It's not going to make a monster impact. It all really comes down to this piece. Every year there are only so many guys that are ready to go pro. And no matter how you sort of change that dynamic, unless you start like creating like a tiered minor league system that's similar to baseball and you're taking in hordes of guys at a time, I just can't see that making any sense from a basketball perspective because your development in the game isn't the same. You're just, if you're really good, you're more ready. I mean, like just sort of everybody in baseball really needs to take some time and go through it. It's not really that case in basketball, but even so, I mean, there's probably at most 20 guys a year that this is even a discussion for. That this is even worth talking about. Most of them, most guys need college, and most guys aren't any more ready for the G League than they are ready for the NBA. And there's a few guys that are, I think, more willing to make the leap if you say, all right, it's just the G League. You're going to be with some other guys at this level. But even then, there's only so many of those guys that it makes sense. I mean, you're not going to just torpedo college basketball that way. There's still too many guys that need that development, and there's not a more safer entry point for them. And they have a better chance of really, creating brand recognition at the college basketball level. I mean, like, I think, you could say, Zion Williamson was going to be a big deal either way, but Zion Williamson did, I think, do a good job of capitalizing on playing at Duke, and becoming a big deal there and being on TV all the time and sort of mattering that way to build his brand by the time he got to, before he entered the draft. So I just don't think there's definitely going to be some people that it's a better idea for. And it's probably a good thing that way because it's like, hey, be able to get paid above board if you need the money now, if it's not a situation where you want to spend another year going to college if you don't care about it. And taking a year where you're not making any, at least above the board income anyway, then it's a thing that makes sense for you, and it might make sense to be in somebody's development roster. But there's just not like, there's going to be a certain amount of guys that are that good that still want to play college basketball, that still want to go through a year, that have a connection to a school, playing an NCAA tournament, just sort of be a part of that scene, and again, build your brand when you're going to be more televised. Then there's going to be a back and forth up there, and then ultimately there's just not going to be that many guys for whom even the G League is an issue, is an option.
And I think that while it will take a little bit of talent out of college basketball, obviously a little bit, overall I think it makes the game better.
Yeah, I mean, I'd agree. I mean, I think you really look at sort of the top to bottom, some of these guys are going to get better in the G League. You know, I think there's only so many of them that can hope to be able to play there. But yeah, no, I think there's a good chance that will be good for their development. That there's a good chance that guys that are built that way, you know, that's more time just playing basketball. They don't have to worry about going to class, and they don't have to, even put on, you know, just everything that goes along with being a college basketball player, all the additional pieces that are there that aren't there once you go professional. You know, they just get to play basketball, and they just get to learn what that life is like, and get, you know, sort of a taste of that. And I think that, you know, so could make them better players, and, you know, could make them better built for the NBA. And you know, you'll have more competition for that. I mean, you'll have more, again, just better development overall. You know, those guys might not go straight to the NBA after that either. They might spend another year there and get better. So I mean, ultimately, it's got a chance to help things, and I do think that it's good that, you know, I just don't think if you don't want to go to college, you should have to go, because ultimately you get put in this situation. Everybody, you know, like, you get put under a microscope if you're not built that way. Like, college is not for everybody. Like, I mean, and, you know, we probably as a society overplayed. I mean, there's probably, you know, we probably have gone too much to that side, and there are more people that should go to trade schools to make more money that way.
I've got two
you know, we end up putting a whole bunch of guys
true.
who are there because of what they can do physically, and force them into a mental situation, you know, a place where they're supposed to go to class. And it's like, okay, you know, sometimes you're setting those guys up to fail. Sometimes you're giving them something that they wouldn't get otherwise, and there is a big value to go into college. But you know, in some cases, we're creating this sort of hypocritical thing and forcing these guys into there. And it's just, it's good to make sure that guys that are just there because they want to play professional basketball just get to go play professional basketball. If that's what they always wanted, that's the whole point. It's like, why make them go through the facade?
I agree, man. Dustin DePirick, he's only 6 away from having 10,000 followers on Twitter. Dustin, did you notice that? So we need to get Dustin to 10,000. We need 6 more people. Todd, I'm not sure
I'm right
if you
on the
follow
brink
him.
there.
So Todd, go
right
follow
now.
Dustin, and that'll
I'm
get him
looking
up
right
to
now.
9995, and then we'll have 5 more. So if you're listening, go to Twitter. I guarantee you, Dustin, today you're going to cross 10,000 followers on Twitter.
Yes. Yes.
Cool mark.
Thank you, guys.
Make sure
Thanks
you
for
go
pointing that
follow
out.
him. Hey, thanks a lot for buddy. We appreciate you as always, and hope you have staying safe and enjoying as best you can as we look to get back to sports at sometime soon.
Absolutely, you guys as well.
Thanks a lot, buddy. Dustin DePirick joining us from The Athletic. Make sure you go follow him on Twitter, like I said, at Dustin DePirick. Get him to 10,000. But we got a lot more to talk about here on Indiana Sports Beat with Coy O'Leary, coming to you from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios, and we'll be back with that right after this. Hello, everybody. Jim Coyle from Indiana Sports Beat. When I'm not covering the Hoosiers, you can find me at Bubba's 33 in Clarksville, located on the northeast corner of I-65 at Veterans Parkway. Bubba's 33 has hand-tossed pizzas, bold burgers, and ice-cold beer from a select list of local craft brewers. An incredible food selection, all made fresh daily. Whether you're meeting the team for that post-win meal in the family dining area or meeting friends for happy hour to watch the game on one of Bubba's 50 TVs. Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
We all want a winning smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you will get at Reynolds Family Dentistry in Sellersburg. Reynolds Family Dentistry has been serving the dental needs of Hoosier families for over 30 years. Let Doctors Roger and Jay Reynolds take care of your family. Just off of I-65 at 809 South Indiana Avenue in Sellersburg. Call 812-246-3368. That's Reynolds Family Dentistry, 812-246-3368.
I'm Rain Shaddy, and I'm a Hoosier. As a toddler, you could always find me running around in a cream and crimson onesie and a red IU hat reminiscent of those worn during the world-famous William Tell timeout, shouting, "Go Hoosiers!" Like many other alum, I chose to make Bloomington my home. As a civic and alumni leader, I have become very knowledgeable about our community and would love to share my insights with you as your realtor. Find me on Facebook or call or text me, Ryan Shaddy, with FC Tucker Bloomington Realtors at 765-623-9093.
Now that warm weather has arrived, it's time to hit the links, and there's no better place than the Golf Club at Eagle Point in Bloomington. Voted best golf course by the readers of the Bloomington Herald-Times, the Golf Club at Eagle Point is under new ownership, has new fairways and bunkers, and it's open to the public. When the round's over, there's cold beer and a full menu at the Eagle Point Pub and Bistro.
Call 812-824-1100 to make it tea time. That's 812-824-1100. The Golf Club at Eagle Point in Bloomington.
This is Jim Coyle from Indiana Sports Beat with Coyle and Leary. Indiana Sports Beat is now a part of the Rivals Network. You can go to thehoosier.com to sign up. It's free. Catch the show there each day live or at your convenience. You can also like or follow us on Facebook, follow the show's rebroadcast anywhere you podcast. If we're not on a radio station where you live, we should be. Let your local station know they need to carry Indiana Sports Beat with Coyle and Leary, or simply go to thehoosier.com.
Some of the best sounds you'll ever hear are generic, safe, effective, even money-saving, just like FDA-approved generic drugs. Even if they don't come in the exact same color or shape as their brand name equivalents, they have the same key ingredients and go through a rigorous review process. Talk to your doctor or pharmacist today and visit fda.gov/generic drugs. Generics are safe, effective, and can save you money. You'll like the sound of that.
Hey, this is Jordan Halls, former Indiana Hoosier. Keep up with Indiana sports on Indiana Sports Beat.
Dogs begin to bark. Hounds begin to howl.
Welcome back to Indiana Sports Beat with Coyle Leary, coming to you from the Golf Club Eagle Point Studios, powered by Rivals. Make sure you go to thehoosier.com. Man, Arkansas Derby ran over the weekend twice. They had 2 races, Todd. I have not gone back to check out how do you figure that out? Did they figure the winner on times, or is there 1 winner, 2 winners? That's a weird deal, man.
I don't even understand what you mean. What do you mean 2 races?
They had so many horses that they did not normally, because the starting gate is like the Kentucky Derby. There's 20 will fit in the main start, and then you have an auxiliary starting gate, which they would go up to. I forget the total number, 20. Or maybe 20 is the total. But anyway, whatever reason, they had more entries. I don't know why. I didn't follow it, but they ran it like 2 races. Yeah, enough horses to fill 2. So
that doesn't make any sense.
I got to look into it.
Not familiar with horse racing rules.
I am, but I'm not familiar enough with what's going on down there because I was busy all weekend. But at least it was live sports. I was talking to people, they were betting on it every race all day. They had races going on all day long.
Sport. That's a gambling event. That is not a sport.
Okay. A lot of people argue with you there.
Is dog racing a sport?
Yeah, anything could be a sport.
Dog racing is a sport.
Well, you're looking at a sport as being whether it's athletic or not. That's not sport in itself. Is just competition.
If the athlete or participant is a person, I would say it could qualify as a sport. But when it's an animal, I don't know that I would necessarily. I mean, is chicken fighting? I mean, in this
rodeo.
case,
what about rodeo?
Not a sport. It's an event.
Oh, come on.
I'm not saying it's not hard to do.
It's absolutely a sport. It's a competition of athletic ability.
What's the athletic ability?
Roping, bulldogging, riding.
Those are skills. Those are not athletic abilities. Those are skills.
If you think you don't need athletic ability, you are sadly mistaken. Some just have a lot more than others. That's no doubt on that.
But hey, okay, why don't they do it? Why don't they do it riding a horse that's not trying to buck you off? Why don't they just do it riding a regular horse?
Well, wouldn't be much fun for that. There's not much challenge to that. I
don't get it.
Let's see what else was going on. What did we talk? Oh yeah, I wanted to talk about Mason Miller. So Archie Miller, he's had virtually no success recruiting kids outside of the state of Indiana, with the exception of Jordan Geronimo, who I don't really count. Although he is a good recruit and a 4-star recruit, but he thought he was going to play Division III basketball somewhere, and he came by you and was like, "Yep, I'll take it." He accepted almost on the spot. But Mason Miller is one of those guys that, man, he's an enigma. I can't tell if he wants to play at home at Memphis with his dad or if he wants to get away from Memphis with his dad.
Yeah, I mean, his dad is an assistant coach. You're right. It could go either way. He could also want him to experience, something else. I mean, if you watch that kid play in his videos and highlight films, I mean, his upside is gigantic. I mean, he is. Let me say this in the most positive way possible: he is physically very immature. And when I say that, I mean he has really got an opportunity to grow into that body, strong with strength and physicalness and all that. Where I mean, he could truly become, Tony Kukoc type player. He's a left-handed 6'9" shooting guy that he's got great touch. I mean, there's something to this, and people who study the art of shooting the basketball will understand what I mean. But his ball goes through the rim with exceptional touch. Like it's not one that rattles in very often. Like it hits the rim very softly. And that's not something you can teach. You're kind of born and get that through practice, or it's very difficult to make someone who doesn't have that a great shooter. And he has it. And he's still very raw. He's got an opportunity to be a great, great player, in my opinion, I think. But from the recruiting perspective, I mean, you talk about throwing a wrench in everything. I mean, his dad is an assistant coach and played in the NBA for 1,000,000 years and played at the University of Florida. So it's just I don't know. It's a strange one to try to get, but you can also look at it from the standpoint of money should not be an issue. I mean, the kid's dad played in the NBA forever, and he's an assistant coach in college. So truly picking the best school for him to get exposure and become a better player, is probably going to be that decision.
Yeah, he's just a great skilled player. But that would also, to me, and there's other guys. There's Aminu Muhammad that are the out-of-state guys. But to me, Archie still needs to land that big out-of-state fish to
Logan Duncan.
Yeah, I mean, he's so regional. It sounds like I'm nitpicky, and I'm not trying to. I just, that big guy to kind of open the door to, but necessarily, I guess, if you're recruiting the state of Indiana that well, there's not a lot you need to add to it. You just need to add a little bit.
I mean, who's the best out-of-state recruit that Indiana's had in the last 10 years ish?
Oh, wow. What a great question, Jake.
I mean, if you look at like Victor Oladipo or somebody like that, I mean,
you got to go with.
When you look at a guy like that,
now coming in, he was just
that's what
regular
I'm saying.
3-star.
You're not recruiting a guy in the top 100 or 50 or 75 or whatever it is. I mean, at that point,
Thomas Bryant. Good. Thomas Bryant. Yeah, that was a good call.
And how'd that work out?
Pretty good. Pretty good.
Pretty good for him now. I don't think he was any good at IU.
He was pretty decent. He was pretty integral. I mean, yeah, he was really integral. He played solid as a freshman and just got better as a sophomore. He was a banger. I mean, he really woke up. I mean, he became a man, I think, in that second season.
Do I have amnesia? Like, are you serious?
Yeah.
I would take Todd Lindemann over Thomas Bryant.
Ooh.
I would take Todd Lindemann over Thomas Bryant from the standpoint of what he could do on the floor.
Well, you played with Todd. I mean, I don't dispute that.
Thomas Bryant looked like he was playing on roller skates. Like the dude fell down more than any player I've ever seen.
I don't know if we're thinking of the same guy. Yeah,
he looked like a giraffe. Looked like a giraffe playing basketball.
Yeah, I think we're not. I don't know if we're talking about the same guy.
Give me some stats, Jake. Give me some stats, Jake.
You'll pull him up. But I think
he's
he was
a
pretty
good pro.
solid.
I agree. It's turned out good for him, but I mean, what were his stats at IU? I could totally be wrong. I don't know one stat of this guy's.
But Mason Miller's one of those guys that I think that would, because of maybe his connection to Memphis or whatever. And I'm not saying it again that need a ton of these, but kind of open it up a little bit to the guys outside, because you only need a few guys to add to that, but they're not really getting them just yet.
And I agree with you. Like let me tell you this: I would love for Mason Miller to come to IU, but if you're going to be fair in how we're going to look at recruiting guys outside the state of Indiana, he's not a guy that you can base that information off of, because there's so many factors that go into that. I mean, imagine being his dad and walking into Memphis coaches' offices and the head coach being like, what? Is there even a question as to that your kid's coming here now? I mean, the kid is highly rated and a crazy skill player. Now, this is a situation to think about. Does he fit into the way Memphis plays? I don't think it's the best fit for him. Let's put it that way. I think that kid could fit into any program, but do I think that's the best fit for him? Like, I give you a perfect example of this. Eric Montross was recruited by Michigan at the same time of the Fab Five being recruited by Michigan. Could Eric Montross make Michigan's team better? Well, for sure he could. But does he really fit into playing with that Fab Five? No, not really.
And would that a team have wanted him on that team? Just like we talked about with Isaiah.
Would he have, yeah, it's exactly right. Would he have fit in, socially with that team? I don't necessarily think so. That wasn't his image. Let's put it that way. But I mean, it doesn't mean he wouldn't have made them better. They would have been a totally different team. Let's put it that way. They might have won 2 championships if he'd have been there. Think about being able to play Chris Webber at the 3 position and Juwan Howard at the 4 position and Montross at the 5 position and Jalen Rowe. Oh my gosh. Ray Jackson would have hated having Montross go to that school because he would have not gotten to play very much.
Jennifer from Evansville sucking up this morning. I agree with Todd. Bryant was never aggressive enough.
Thank you, Jennifer. I mean, hey, you know what? I feel guilty already. Like, I'm a IU guy. He was an IU guy. I don't mean to pick on him. I really don't. I view Thomas Bryant's professional career as being much more successful than his college career. But I'll tell you this: in 2 years from now, I'm going to be saying the same thing about Romeo Langford. I'm going to be saying his professional career was way better than his college career as well.
Oh, there's no doubt about it. Tomorrow's Cinco de Mayo. Man, we have to do a little Mexican flavor.
Today's Cuatro de Mayo.
There's that. You ain't lying. Speaking of tomorrow, man, I got a great show lined up tomorrow. Jerry and Todd Yeagley are going to be with us. Obviously, the current coach of the Indiana men's soccer program, but the godfather of Indiana men's soccer, Coach Jerry Yeagley, will join us tomorrow night on BTN. The documentary Worth the Wait is going to be out, and been looking forward to that. That had to be delayed because of all this stuff, I think, but looking forward to that and having those guys on together, no less.
I got to be honest with you. Like, I'm a little bit nervous. Like, I don't get nervous about our interviews very often, but Jerry Yeagley is, I mean, if there's a Mount Rushmore of coaches at Indiana University, Jerry Yeagley's on it.
No doubt.
You're looking at it and you're like, I mean, you got, Bill Armstrong intimidated me. Coach Knight obviously intimidates me. Jerry Yeagley intimidates me. Bill Mallory intimidates me. I mean, guys like that. I mean, you look at him. Who's the swimming coach?
Doc Councilman and Hobie Billingsley.
Gosh, I mean, you talk. Those guys come in the room, and you're just like, I mean, I want to be a sponge and learn as much as I can from them.
Yeah, he's right there. I mean, the thing is, he started a program that has gone on to win 8 national titles.
And look at it from the standpoint of, it's not like he's dealing with ideal circumstances. We're talking about playing soccer in Indiana. I mean, it's not like it's a warm weather climate where they're able to practice, 360 days a year. I mean, we're talking about half a year types ideal conditions, and
in an area where soccer was not prevalent.
Right.
I look soccer. I didn't even have soccer in my high school, and this was around that time. They didn't have that in my high school then.
I haven't seen it. I haven't seen it in the last few years. I'm assuming it's still just out of control crazy. But I can tell you, when you realized how big that program was about the year 2000. If you would have ever gone to like an IU basketball camp and then seen the IU soccer camp as well, because Bob Knight's camp was gigantic, and then the soccer camp almost even dwarfed it. And that was all just off of reputation. I mean, kids were coming from all over the country to go to that soccer camp because of how successful that program was. And you're just like, I didn't even know it's like you said, I didn't even know we had soccer at my high school. Honestly, I think it was a club sport. I don't think it was IHSAA sanctioned when I was in school.
It definitely wasn't when I was, for certain. And that was a couple years before, but absolutely. And then for them to maintain that level of excellence, and let me tell you, that level's still there. They're still going to college cups. Oh. They're still going to which is the Final Four. They're still going to college. They're still winning national championships.
I mean, can you think of another father-son combo?
No, not in college.
That at any level that have been as successful in any sport. I'm talking like I take baseball might be a more ideal one that could be, but basketball wise, I can't think of a father-son combo that would be more successful than these guys.
Yeah, I'll have to get our writers on that, man. That's a great question. Dr. J hits us up on the text line. Gosh,
I haven't heard from Dr. J in a while. He's back to work,
everybody's sucking up today. I also agree with Todd on the Thomas Bryant matter. He has been much more of a professional presence than college. Dr. J, thank you, brother.
Jake, did you get some stats for me? What do you average?
He averaged 12.6 points a game his sophomore year, averaged almost 7 rebounds, would have been the highest three-point percentage on the team this year at 38.3%.
How many did he shoot?
Yes, probably 5.
Yeah.
I want to hear this.
60.
Wow.
He shot 60 threes?
Wow.
Oh, my gosh.
That's a little impressive. Hello. Now what do you got to say?
Years? Did he leave after 2 years?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, what did he do his freshman year? You gave me his better stats, I'm assuming.
Yeah, his sophomore stats were better, but he averaged 11.9 his freshman year.
Okay, I'll take it back. Those are good stats. He was more impactful than I gave him credit for. Did they make the tournament either or both of those years?
Yeah, they won the Big Ten.
Man, I have amnesia then. I apologize.
Man.
I publicly
He was on that team that beat Kentucky in the Sweet 16.
I publicly apologize.
I knew you were
Thomas
thinking
Bryant.
somebody else, I thought. But, hey, we got a lot more to talk about. We got to bring it back here. Indiana Sports Beat with Coyle Leary coming to you from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios, powered by Rivals. Back right after this. Hello, everybody. Jim Coyle from Indiana Sports Beat. When I'm not covering the Hoosiers, you can find me at Bubba's 33 in Clarksville, located on the northeast corner of I-65 at Veterans Parkway. Bubba's 33 has hand-tossed pizzas, bold burgers, and ice-cold beer from a select list of local craft brewers. An incredible food selection, all made fresh daily. Whether you're meeting the team for that post-win meal in the family dining area or meeting friends for happy hour to watch the game on one of Bubba's 50 TVs. Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
We all want a winning smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you will get at Reynolds Family Dentistry in Sellersburg. Reynolds Family Dentistry has been serving the dental needs of Hoosier families for over 30 years. Let Doctors Roger and Jay Reynolds take care of your family. Just off of I-65 at 809 South Indiana Avenue in Sellersburg. Call 812-246-3368. That's Reynolds Family Dentistry, 812-246-3368.
I'm Rain Shaddy, and I'm a Hoosier. As a toddler, you could always find me running around in a cream and crimson onesie and a red IU hat reminiscent of those worn during the world-famous William Tell timeout, shouting, "Go Hoosiers!" Like many other alum, I chose to make Bloomington my home. As a civic and alumni leader, I have become very knowledgeable about our community and would love to share my insights with you as your realtor. Find me on Facebook or call or text me, Ryan Shaddy, with FC Tucker Bloomington Realtors at 765-623-9093.
Now that warm weather has arrived, it's time to hit the links, and there's no better place than the Golf Club at Eagle Point in Bloomington. Voted best golf course by the readers of the Bloomington Herald-Times, the Golf Club at Eagle Point is under new ownership, has new fairways and bunkers, and it's open to the public. When the round's over, there's cold beer and a full menu at the Eagle Point Pub and Bistro. Call 812-824-1100 to make it tee time. That's 812-824-1100. The Golf Club at Eagle Point in Bloomington.
This is Jim Coyle from Indiana Sports Beat with Coyle and Leary. Indiana Sports Beat is now a part of the Rivals Network. You can go to thehoosier.com to sign up. It's free. Catch the show there each day live or at your convenience. You can also like or follow us on Facebook, follow the show's rebroadcast anywhere you podcast. If we're not on a radio station where you live, we should be. Let your local station know they need to carry Indiana Sports Beat with Coyle and Leary, or simply go to thehoosier.com.
Some of the best sounds you'll ever hear are generic, safe, effective, even money-saving, just like FDA-approved generic drugs. Even if they don't come in the exact same color or shape as their brand name equivalents, they have the same key ingredients and go through a rigorous review process. Talk to your doctor or pharmacist today and visit fda.gov/generic drugs. Generics are safe, effective, and can save you money. You'll like the sound of that.
Hey, it's Michael Lewis, former Indiana University player and current UCLA assistant basketball coach, and you're listening to Indiana Sports Beat.
A Monday warrior, mean stride. Today's Tom Sawyer, mean pride.
Welcome back to Indiana Sports Beat. Coming to you from the Golf Club Eagle Point Studios, Corey and Larry, powered by Rivals. Go to thehoosier.com for complete coverage of the Indiana Hoosiers. We were talking about, you made a comment earlier, Todd, that really stuck me, compared Mason Miller to Kukoc. Man, was he a point of emphasis on The Last Dance last night. And boy, you talk about a guy getting the rail job to start out with, but just maintaining his deal and how it worked out. But wow, what a player he was at 6'10".
You know what? You just think about how, how things could have been different. If it weren't for the fact that Jerry Krause was such an egomaniac and had zero tact when it came to introducing players. I mean, he wanted credit for certain players and certain things that happened and all those. And let's just say it's flip-flopped around and there's no lead into the Olympic Games and Croatia versus the United States. And those guys are not really going out and trying to, embarrass Tony Kukoc. Think about if they were welcoming him in and he became, the third head and the three-headed monster out of those guys.
Three more.
Think about that. Just the way he was introduced changed the perception of him to the guys that were already on the team. And you can understand it. I mean, it'd be like your parents getting remarried and having, a stepbrother come in and all they do is talk about how great he is all the time. And you'd be like, well, I'll show you ain't that great. And I mean, when you think about this, how would you like to be a player on another team playing against the dream team and two of the best players on the team that have been defensive player of the year in their lifetimes, multiple times, have it out for you and are trying to prove you suck? How would you like to play in that game? Give me a break. Having one guy guard you. I mean, when he checks out of the game, you're like, okay, cool, I'm going to get a break for a second. And
now here's the worst guy.
Scottie Pippen shows up and you're like, well, freak, this is ridiculous.
Oh, man. Jerry Krause was all right. The funny thing is, what he desperately wanted credit for was putting Michael Jordan's team together. I think he seemed a little jealous that those guys were getting the credit. He thought that he could recreate that whole thing without Phil Jackson, without Michael Jordan, without Scottie Pippen, and he was wrong.
It's the perfect example, and Jordan didn't have to. Have couth or have tact about the way he handled things with Jerry Krause. When you watch this show, how many times do you hear Jordan crack on Jerry Krause's height, which obviously is a striking point for Jerry Krause. I mean, he's got small man syndrome. I mean, I don't think there's any
business that it has nothing but guys that
has nothing but gigantic guys. So he's trying to prove his worth and all this thing. And Jordan, at every opportunity, we're watching 2-hour segments of this thing every Sunday, and we're hearing him comment on Jerry Krause's height. He told him after they won the first championship he shouldn't smoke a cigar because it would stun his growth.
Yeah.
I mean, he's taking every opportunity to jab at this guy, which I mean, Michael Jordan is like, he can get away with that. This is when somebody, and Reinsdorf, in my opinion, is probably the only guy that could have done this in saying, hey, you know what, Jerry, you need to step back from this scenario and you need to start over, start fresh, and get all your preconceived hatred towards certain people and the idea that you need credit for these things. Every time we win a championship, you are credited with this, whether you think you are or not. You're not going to get any more credit than you're already getting. And man, just things could have been so much different from the outside looking in. Look, I was a Pacers fan, but I respected and enjoyed when the Pacers were out. I rooted for the Bulls, and if you can't root for Michael Jordan, I would say you don't truly love the game of basketball itself. But when you look at the situation that Jerry Krause put them all in, it's amazing that they played as well as they did. From the outside looking in, I didn't know that they had that much animosity towards Tony Kukoc. I mean, you could kind of tell it a little bit, but
it wasn't towards Tony. Actually, it was towards Jerry Krause. To be honest,
yeah, but I mean, it got taken out on Tony.
Yes.
I mean,
he was the vehicle.
He wasn't welcomed in. I mean,
he was the vehicle.
He had to go out and basically play and keep his mouth shut. I mean, if you listen to his interview last night, I do remember this. I remember him signing with the Bulls or being drafted by the Bulls and playing in Croatia, and I was like, well, he's either not good enough for one, or, they don't think based on the Olympics he's ready to come over here and play yet. But then when he makes the explanation last night, look, I was getting paid so much more money.
He's making more money.
Right. Well, back then you couldn't. I mean, when your rookie contract, you get drafted at X position, your contract is already signed. There's no negotiating. You know what you're going to make. And so he's looking at that going, I can make millions of dollars. He's like, this is not a small amount of money. We're talking millions of dollars every year playing in my hometown, and I don't have to leave.
But the difference, what he doesn't understand, is that second contract.
No, I get it. I just say,
but you're right. It was a great. But when he said that, I just kind of started laughing. I'm like, that's kind of funny.
Yeah, I mean, and
he didn't care about playing with Michael Jordan and Scottie Pippen. It was about
he said the first time he met him was playing in the Olympics. I mean, think about that.
Yeah,
the first time he met them is the time they're trying to prove he's not worthy of playing, not only on their team but in the NBA in general. So, I mean, just the fact that he ever got here and contributed on that team is amazing.
Ryan from Michigan hit us up. Lasting memory was that they went to that Sweet 16 in 15-16. He's talking about Indiana, we were talking about earlier. But then he writes, hey, guys, if you believe this, I went to one of the Bulls' 10 losses during their 72-10 season and bought a Rodman jersey. It was cool to see them in person. Thanks, Brian, for the text. Yeah, that would be – that's a great – a lot of people that think that's the best team because of that record, but then a lot of guys actually think that 92 team because I think these are different teams, was actually a better team. But that was the year that Pippen held out, I think, before he got going, and then they were really good.
Yeah, I mean, that was pre-Rodman days, and it'd be hard to say that team was better than the Rodman.
That's
team.
true.
But you heard him saying it last night. I mean, you heard the NBA analysts on there last night saying some of them thought that team was the best team. And look, for them to the hardest thing to do, in my opinion, is to break through that barrier, and they broke through that barrier. Their first 3 championships, I mean, they had to break through that Pistons, Knicks, Lakers, Celtics barrier to get there, and then they did things that those teams didn't even do. So, that was the hardest part of it. So you could argue that team was the best. I don't ever think it makes any sense to compare teams.
It doesn't
when you have different players on them.
It's different eras. They're playing against different teams. It's just you can't. It's hard not to, but yeah, it's virtually impossible. Tim hit us up on the text line asking, have you ever hit a buzzer beater in college or high school?
Me?
Yeah.
I have not in college. I missed one at Ohio State. I think it was my freshman. Yeah, it was my freshman year. I took the final shot, if that tells you anything. I took the final shot and we lost at Ohio State my freshman year. In high school, I hit a couple.
Dr. J hit back talking about Thomas Bryant, said, I guess he was the quiet giant. No, that's what he talked about in the break, that Todd was confusing him with Hannah Most Perea. I thought that I knew that I think you're confusing him with somebody else. And yeah, that made sense.
Yeah.
We were talking about Thomas Bryant earlier, but also Hannah Most Perea was here around that time. But yeah, he was like an AAU sensation, highlight sensation reel, man. But he just never materialized in college for him at IU.
And I think, I think it makes a little bit of sense to look at, and I'm not like trying to prove my point. I was wrong. Thomas Bryant had I would have never, if I had to guess his stats prior to saying that, I would not have guessed they were as high as they were. But I also wouldn't have guessed that a guy who's averaged roughly 12 points for his first 2 seasons is capable of leaving and going to the NBA already. I mean, I don't remember too many games that he totally dominated, and he's gotten to a great point. I mean, he's a huge contributor in the NBA now.
Contract.
Right. So he did choose, I think, I don't know if he'd have stayed another year, whether it would have helped his development and he would have gotten to this point faster. There's no point in arguing that. It's worked out great for him. And so, I just go back on it and think that a guy that averages 12 points, like right now, I'll give you an example. Kofi Coburn that's leaving Illinois after 1 year to go to the NBA. I mean, is he ready? I mean, I'm going to say he might have an impact 4 or 5 years from now in the NBA, but he's not going to have an impact next year. Yeah, I don't think.
No, I don't see him having an impact, but I think that these guys, and I understand, look at it as just completely business sense. Maybe now's a better time because of what's going on. I mean, it sets the rule change. You got the potential rule change coming. So there's so many different things. And these guys are listening to listening to so many different people, family members in your ear, your people in your ear, their handlers in their ear. There's so many people in their ear.
And I'm not saying here's the difference between what, someone might hear of what I just said and what I'm trying to say. Is I'm not saying he shouldn't go based on the business sense of the money is there and too many bad things can happen. If he's going to get drafted, he should go. No two ways about it. I'm saying if you look at, 7 years from now, where's Kofi Coburn's basketball game going to be 7 years from now? He might be a better player 7 years from now if he stayed another year in college. It doesn't mean that he's not going to be a good player by going the route he's choosing to go right now. I just truly believe if you look at it from the long haul in your overall career, I think he might be better off to stay. But if he was my son, I would not recommend he stay. If he had the opportunity to go, I would tell him to go without question.
There's a great story in the IDS, if you ever see the Indiana Daily student. Adrian Chapman went to Brownsburg High School. I think he was at IU for a couple of years playing in the hyper, but he got to be a walk-on his senior year. I mean, that's kind of cool. Not many guys play 2 years in hyper and end up on the IU basketball team. Maybe 1920s, but not now.
If you ever go to the hyper and watch guys in there play, surprisingly, there's not more guys that have that opportunity to walk on. There's some really good – I know a lot of kids that especially, like, I'll give you an example. I know people from my high school that got scholarships. In particular, one of my buddies on my basketball team, but he was a quarterback on the football team, got a scholarship to play basketball or play football at Western Michigan as a quarterback. He went there 1 year and then transferred, came to IU, and spent the rest of his time at IU. Guys like Zach McRoberts goes somewhere, and then he left. He was coming to IU just to go to IU. He went to Vermont on a basketball scholarship, left, and was coming back. And then all of a sudden, he walks on in that scenario. Like, there's a lot of guys at the hyper that can play. When you're a 6'2" guy like me that's not super athletic, going to the hyper doesn't do you a whole lot of – you're not going there to prove a whole lot because there's 1,000 people in the gym that look just like you.
Intramurals were a blast, and the intramural tournament, it was a battle, man. It was fun. How many courts? How many courts are in there? There's got like 20 courts in that thing.
It's at least 20.
Oh, is it really that big, Jake?
No
way. That's a lot.
Between 20 and 25. Yeah,
it's gigantic though.
It's got to be an even number.
And to see all those games going on at the same time.
Yeah.
Oh man, it was fun times. Fun times.
No, I spent most of my intramural days at the Fiji House, judging their dunk contests and playing in some of their 3-on-3 pickup games over there. That was a lot of fun.
I bet
we weren't allowed to go to the hyper. We weren't allowed to go to the hyper except for in the summertime.
But you're allowed to play 3-on-3 at a frat house.
It was never told we were not allowed to do it.
Yeah.
Don't ask for permission, ask for forgiveness.
That's right.
So we chose to never ask to do that one.
Hey, tomorrow is Cinco de Mayo, but more importantly, it is Jerry and Todd Yaglio Day, actually. No, Coach Jerry and Todd Yagley joining us, the godfather of Indiana men's soccer. Worth the wait, the BTN documentary, 5 p.m. tomorrow night. But we will have Coach Jerry and Todd Yagley on with us tomorrow. So please join us. Chronic Hoosier will be with us tomorrow as well. So look forward to that. But another great day, man, great weekend. And I hope everyone is staying safe as we continue to move forward. And look forward to having another great day tomorrow. Todd Leary, thank you again, brother.
Yep. Enjoyed it.
Jake, have a great day. And for everybody else, until tomorrow, I will see you on the radio.